to overcome my anxiety when I own it. So this is my first time getting to speak on this kind of stage. So thank you. I'm going to do everything I can to not ramble too much. I'm going to leave room for some Q&A at the end. If you have questions, please save them for the end. I'd love to talk to them. I really would. Well, welcome, y'all. We're going to talk today about building modern spirituality with these timeless entheogens. I'm going to start by saying when we're talking about modern spirituality, we're talking about things that are being created actively in our movement. Now, I don't mean the industry that is the psychedelic, products. I mean the movement that is being created by each person here, putting their passion, their time, their love into this. So, first thing is, who am I? I am Teopixqui Dez. I am the spiritual director and founder of the Colorado Psychedelic Church. I have a degree in psychology. I got very lucky, y'all, very lucky. With my bachelor's, I was able to work in some fantastic clinics, be a part of some fantastic teams, started working towards my master's, and realized very quickly the American healthcare system's focus on profits didn't resonate with my focus on people. My very last patient that I ever had as a part of a team, after months of connecting with them, I worked with adolescents, y'all. That was where my degree was. So to look at a child who for 4 months referred to me as, and I apologize to anybody in the room, referred to me as Dr. Faggot for 4 months. This was a kid who, after finally being able, well, you can walk out at any time, my dude, but he didn't. And after getting the time to connect and actually to work together and to tell him, I'm not going to just abandon, I'm not going to disappear, mom's insurance ran out. So to have to look at this child who I've built this connection with and to say that I won't abandon you, but now I can risk everything that I'm doing professionally by seeing you outside of this in any regard. That was the day that I walked out and never looked back. Creating the Psychedelic Church wasn't just me as a hippie wanting a mushroom church. I'm a burnt out millennial tired of watching people kill themselves. This is how I'm fighting that good fight. Being a part of this movement, you being here, fights that good fight. Now, we're going to look at a term as the foundation of this, and that is perennialism. I had somebody else do my formatting. Perennialism is this idea that certain concepts will appear again and again despite culture, spirituality, morality, things like that. This is a universal understanding. These are timeless pieces that they keep popping up for a reason. Now, healing has been made possible throughout history, and there have been some phenomenal speakers who have spoken at length about the way that we have found art, mushroom art, dating back to 9,000 BC in Algeria. We know about peyote's sacred history throughout Mexico, throughout the southern United States. I mean, we're even finding DMT present in snuff and in pipes dating back to 21,000 BC or 100 BC. So this is a tool that has been ever present in what it means to develop culture, community, society. And through all of those, there is truly a universal morality. Now, going across different cultures, looking at the different ways that unrelated civilizations have agreed to connect with these medicines has to be recognized. Who here has heard of that? Well, you're going to go in the forest in Brazil and you're going to just by yourself go do some ayahuasca and talk to nobody. You do mushrooms, you do any kind of these psychedelics, these entheogens, these sacred compounds, and we find community. We find people coming together to share it. We find it could be a small number, it could be dozens. But this is present again and again when we see that there's an understanding that the who we are exists in the what we are. We are a divine control of this machine, and regardless of what we call it, the self, the soul, God, source, just me, doesn't matter. The concept is ever present. Next, we looked at these sacred things. They're not just plants. It's not just food. It's sacrament. It's sacred. That just as you yourself are a divine soul, there is something present in these mushrooms. There's something alive that wants to connect with you in the root. Maria Sabina called them Niños Santos, the holy children. We can find many different names for peyote, but the one that stood out to me was the elder brother blue deer. Y'all, I'm not going to massacre trying to say that. But it's important to recognize, brother, it is our kin. It stands by our side. It is a part of us, not above. We aren't above it. We are kin. Mother Ayahuasca. Everyone here has heard this said many times in this space alone. There's a reason. Now, this extends to the integration, the intention. This is very big right now in our movement, the understanding that these different entheogens, these different sacred compounds must be met with a purpose. If you're willing to sell yourself out, who enjoyed any entheogen, be it something like MDMA, LSD, or something sacred like a mushroom, in a casual setting like a rave or a concert as a child, when you were a teenager, in college, right? Well, why didn't it fix us? Because we didn't have the intention. The idea was, I'm sober, let's fix that. Now, we know that the intention is important. Now, in a clinical setting, that's very obvious. Why are we here right now? What hurts? You know, you came in with tears in your eyes. Why specifically? What is so scary about healing? But before these fancy words, it was diet. It was fasting. It might have been silence. We can find that there is intention as an integral part of this use throughout different cultures, which shows that it's not a matter of just the ingestion of it, taking it into us, but to develop a relationship with the medicine. The communal aspect to this is just as important. And all of it leads to a stronger sense of healing, of directions, that harm exists and it is meant to be fixed. Now, this is the whole point of this conversation, is how do we carry the history without stealing the culture? Now, I created the Psychedelic Church in my basement, but things like this exist all over. Now, we're here in this conference hall having a conversation. I have the honor to stand upon a stage in front of people who are pursuing this passion, but 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this would have been back in the basement, said very quietly, clandestine. Do you understand the privilege that it is today, right here, right now, to sit in that seat? Because I'm telling you, if you do not know who has bled, if you do not know who has died, then you don't have an understanding of what it means to be a part of this movement today. How can we make sure that we're looking at these sacred entheogens and sacred compounds and taking what we need to while respecting what should be left alone? I hate this picture, y'all. Couldn't find a better one to really show what is obvious in appropriation. So I'm going to pick on my favorite holiday, Halloween. I think each of us can think back to a time when outfits like this, the Indian headdress, not Native American, right? The cultural representation boiled down to something simplistic and stupid. To appropriate is the act of taking, borrowing, or call it what it is, seizing something, such as money, property, or cultural elements for one's own use without permission. Now, I'm not saying that each of us to connect with Mother Ayahuasca need to go and ask permission from the original people who brought this to us. To look back and go and say to Maria Sabina's town, and to say thank you for allowing this to exist, even if she didn't get the benefit of seeing the beauty. She was a victim. She was a victim. But who here has taken mushrooms and thought to themselves just once, thank you. Building modern spirituality has to be done on the foundation of knowing the privilege that we stand upon. In our faith, I've heard and seen quite a bit, but one of the most pointed comments that I've ever been told is what you see on the screen. And it was, Des, do you really think something sacred can be made in a basement? And of course, I grew up fat, gay in Texas. I got thick skin. I'm gonna be okay. But it got me thinking, can it? Can something sacred be created anywhere? What does it mean to stand in a church? To stand before something that iconically is above you. You stand before a cross, you stand before God, you stand before a deity that is, by part of it, above you. It is bigger, it is greater. I don't subscribe to that. You are divine. You are divine. Where there is divinity, there's church. So can that be created in my basement? Yes, absolutely. In the exact same way, each of you can create this same space, this same sense of sacred attachment and connection in your home. But like everything else, it's intent. Why didn't we heal when we were college students, just kind of tripping? The lack of intention. So today, as each of us decide to build our own connection with this medicine, I really do encourage everyone to find what is your spirituality? What does it look like in motion? If the world is not a better place because of your faith, what is the point? Now, this can look a lot like traditional faiths. In our church, there are people who would subscribe closer to Christianity or Buddhism. We have a lot of fantastic witches and warlocks? What's a male witch?
Witch.
I think so, yeah? So then there's no rigidity in how this should look, because we're unified by the understanding of what that foundation has to be built on. This ancient healing is built on a foundation of what I would consider these integral, important, necessary bricks. The first is the simple acknowledgement. This is sacred. If you are the divine in the room, it is the prayer. If you are maintaining the self, that is what worship looks like. The acknowledgement and active effort of what makes the medicine sacred really is you. Now, even if you don't believe that today, here and now, find it. Truly, this is the most I ever proselytize to people. Is that to recognize that this medicine is sacred is to recognize you are sacred. The next part is sacrifice. Now, this is very eclectic. Looking back at other civilizations, at other cultures that utilize this, fasting is a form of sacrifice. You're not just not eating, you're sitting with the hunger. You're owning it. You're finding a sense of comfort and understanding that there is no person at the toll booth saying, well, you paid your due, you can find enlightenment. It's the understanding that to find something without paying anything is to not understand its value. that it takes some form of giving to receive something so grand as the peace and enlightenment that these bring. So what is your investment? When you sit down with the medicine and you think, okay, what is the investment? The other one is intention. Now we are going out of our way on a day that is fairly normal to sever the who we are from the what we are. Now the what we are is designed to take the brunt of our existence, our trauma, depression, anxiety, our confidence, our arrogance, pathways in the brain. Simple. Who we are is filtered through that. Then how do we find comfort in the disconnect and the understanding that this is not me, it is mine? Same. Now I know I have some fairly heavy anxiety. And if I go unmedicated long enough, if I go without any form of revelry with the medicine, it catches up. It whispers ugly doubt. It forms in my mind as imposter syndrome. Who the hell am I as some flawed individual to speak? But that's the point, isn't it? To come together with the skills that we have learned from our individual hurt, our individual lessons, and to share them. The adaptable setting is something that we have to create with that intention. So what makes this process comfortable? Does it need to be uncomfortable? One thing that I often hear when it comes to Mother Ayahuasca is that purging is a necessity. That it is, you have to purge. I don't subscribe to that. The universe doesn't give that, because it has not given me any evidence that supports that that discomfort is a part. Why should medicine taste bitter? One of the most common things that I hear from my congregation, especially new people, especially the first time, well, I don't want it to be fun. Like I want it to fix me up. I hear that a lot. This doesn't need to be fun. I don't need to enjoy it. I just want to get better. Who can resonate with that thought, at least? Either people are shy or people are healed. That's awesome. I don't think it needs to be. I think healing should be comfortable. And the ways that we can make that healing comfortable is to adjust the scenario, the setting to fit each individual person. Now this is brought up specifically to mention that when we look at the Bwiti, whose connection with Iboga is beyond, Iboga is one beyond one that I could understand. It's not my culture. It's not my connection. But to steal that setting and to not adapt what we're doing here to fit you, it's appropriation, it's theft, it's hollow. There's the understanding that today, modern spirituality is simply going to look different. Did these people have to worry about the anxieties of being disconnected from your phone too long? It's a different kind of hurt. It's a different kind of anxiety. What does our culture look like compared to another in terms of daily grind? What are the little things that beat you down? Somebody cutting you off. Somebody saying something that's just thoughtless and mean because they're not going to see you again, they don't care. In a forest, when there's 30, 40 of you, you're going to see each other again. There's a sense of understanding and ownership that in that communal setting, we are responsible for each other just as much as ourselves. Taking all of that, we look at music. How can we set a setting easier than music and lights? Now, if we were to sit down in our space and I decided to put on some pan flute CD that I found at a flea market, that might be a little different than if I decide we're talking, we're the same age. You know what's an awesome song? Mr. Brightside by the Killers. Yeah. That song brings me some peace. Maybe a little silly, but if we're sitting in this setting, something sacred, creating something that we can connect with, not just something that is physical like the medicine, but with ourselves, that Mr. Brightside is going to bring me closer than something that is designed to feel, I guess, spiritual. But without that connection, what is it? Hollow. That last part is, of course, integration. We see it in the other cultures where it's the expectation. You've gone through this amazing experience. You are now an adult. You are now healed. You are now whatever that transition is supposed to be. There's the expectation that your behaviors will now change. What does that look like in our setting? What good is the wisdom that you find if you do not put it in motion? No thoughts and prayers, action and change. That was my last slide. This movement is an opportunity for each person, seated here or otherwise, to develop spirituality within themselves properly. It's not about saying my message is right and your message is wrong, but if your message is one that comes from not understanding those who came before you, does it have the same investment and respect? Does it have the same oomph? That something as deep, something as timeless as all of these different entheogens that different cultures have found peace on and have shared that peace, do you do them right? Because even if this is that moment of, you know what? Every time I decide to roll a joint, I'm going to take 1 second and say, thank you. Because that cannabis has a soul there to help you heal, just as the mushroom does, just as DMT does, and just as the sacred compounds that maybe don't have a physical form. 5-MeO, LSD, MDMA, things that don't have an entheogen route, but are nevertheless sacred, because again, this is modern spirituality. Modern problems require modern solutions. And I really do hope that each of you are able to develop that fire within you that connects with the medicine on a way that honors the divinity in it and the divinity in you. I can take questions. If anybody has questions about anything that I spoke about our community, about what it looks like to build something sustainable within yourself. Okay?
I wish I could come to your church.
Oh, thank you. Yes, if you are based here in Colorado, everybody, we are based in Colorado Springs. If you travel to visit us, I have a room for you to sleep in, I have food for you to eat. If you get there, I'll take care of the rest.
Thank you.
Okay, it might take me a minute to get to the question.
Oh, please.
But I want to revisit this piece about appropriation. So I'm going to Naropa in Boulder, Colorado, Buddhist hippie school. There's a lot of New Age, a lot of spiritual bypassing that can happen in that community. I've seen it. We talk about it. So I wrestle with this piece about appropriation. Like I've been in ceremony in Central America, in Mexico, and there's a part of me that's craving the ceremony, it's craving ritual, and I want to honor the lineage of some of these medicines. And so there's a part of me that does want to learn about and honor, especially like indigenous cultures,
yes,
where the medicine comes from. And And I want to incorporate that into my own practice, but I don't want to appropriate. And I do want to make it modern and relevant to my culture and be creating my own spirituality. So I just wrestle with like the merging of the two of those without the appropriation.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard because we look at something and recognize that these timeless traditions and ceremonies have existed for a reason. They've managed to exist for thousands of years. On one side, I think it really falls like on the individual to figure out how do you want to specifically honor it. Is it something where you have a little altar that each piece has a sentimental attachment? Is it something where as you travel and you do these experiences in other places, do you take something home? Not just the message, but support a local artist. Support what's created by a tribe. Put your energy, because it's all energy exchange. The easiest form of exchange is money, straight up. And to be able to go to someone and say, let me help support you. Maybe I can't give you food, maybe I can give you money to purchase this. And then you take that and you make that sacred, because that's the exchange there with the people who came from that area. Right? Trauma resonates. Even though Maria Sabina may have by herself been ostracized and demonized for bringing this to us, that trauma exists in that town. It exists in the blood. So I really do think intention, and it sounds like a cop-out, but intention matters. Right? Taking just a second, even in our community, to have a stole instead of me walking around in a dashiki or a head or something. My father is Catholic, my mother was Jewish. This symbolism is important for me. This is me reclaiming spirituality for myself, and then to be able to share that. So just ask yourself as you do it, like, does this feel right? Well, the second you have to quantify, add qualifiers, you're in the wrong direction. But make it an active effort. Make yourself proud by honoring them right. Oh, thank you. Anybody else? Please.
I don't really know how to formulate this question properly, but I think it's I'm curious. I also don't know. Yeah, same kind of similar vibe there. But I'm curious because as America, right, we don't have a culture, right? We're a mixture of everybody.
Yep.
And so then we're diving into these, I got introduced to this space coming from tech, and I had no idea what I was going into, and I just assumed the person had the right training, and they totally didn't, and appropriated a lot of things, and then I've learned through, trial, error, and I'm just curious, how do we address, the systematic level, and our Western minds and relationship with power, and how when we go into these spaces, we're honoring the medicine and the lineage before, and also knowing our humanity and where we are now, and that we have our Western mind, and we don't come from a culture, basically.
Here's a dangerous question.
Yeah.
What prevents you from creating culture?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
Intention, having the right heart behind it, you create it, right? At some point, even the most timeless ceremonies, somebody on the very first or second time might have stopped and go, this is kind of weird, right? But it persisted because it made sense. That is such a good way to look at that, because we're a melting pot.
Yeah.
Melting everything together. Which means we have a really wonderful opportunity to create from all of these different pieces, right? And so long as you pay your due.
Yeah, I think it's being honest.
Yes.
What we are, and not pretending to be something else.
Exactly that.
Especially
Exactly.
when we're trying to seek power.
There is a term that I use very carefully. It's colonial shamanism. Colonial shamanism, and this is, I mean, no disrespect to anybody in the room. I want to apologize ahead of time, but if your blood or culture, because you can be raised in a culture without being born in it, isn't of the ceremony that you're performing, you have stolen it. And even the word shaman for me typically is a yellow flag, right? Teopixqui is a title I gave myself to fit what we're doing, but I will never pretend to be a father, a pastor, a shaman, any of that. I am this. So I encourage you, create it. Create the culture that you'll be proud of, that you know will make the world a better place. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.